Hi, my name's Mike DeLong. I'm the pastor of the Vine Church. And if you are listening to this podcast or watching this video presentation, this is our special series on race. At the Vine, we believe that the answer to our current situation is not to draw our battle lines, retreat to our corners, and not say anything to each other at all out of fear of saying the wrong thing. We believe that the answer to our current situation is to actually lean in. It's to have the discussion. It's to actually work through the differences in worldviews. It's to talk it out. Now look, when we do that, it's going to be messy. I mean, really messy in places. So as you consume this series, which has one-on-one interviews and panel discussions, you'll have to remember to be grace-filled yourself. For there will be messy moments where you will be offended. Because you see, here at the Vine, we have a pretty multicultural congregation. We have many different people from many different backgrounds. It's just a matter of time until I say something or somebody says something that offends you. We live in a culture that's cancel culture based. Anytime we don't hear what we like or don't hear what we value, there's this temptation just to shut it down, cancel it. I'm going to ask you to suspend that for a moment. Offer grace to all that speak in this particular series. And as we work through this together, let's pray collectively that the Spirit of God would open our minds to the worldview of the other, give us perspective and mercy for the other, and that as we move together as a community, we may not fix the world, but we may become a shining example of how we overcome the differences in worldview through these discussions. This is our intent. Now, here's the deal. I can't control how you're going to react to this. The Bible clearly says in Romans chapter 12, it says, do everything within your power to live at peace. As far as it depends on you, do everything to live at peace. Which means know my heart and know the hearts of those who've participated. We want to promote unity. We want to promote clarity and a biblical worldview. There will be moments when in our brokenness, in our inability to communicate effectively, we'll say things off the cuff that will not be exactly what we hold to be true. But I can't control your reaction. I can only ask you to be mindful, thoughtful, prayerful, and grace-filled as we work through this together. All right, proceed. Love you. Mean it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our Pewology podcast. And if you're watching us on video, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're glad that you're with us. I've got with me tonight my good friends Tabitha and Corey. We're in a small group together, and they've been members here at the Vine for a while. And so I thought we'd get together and just talk about the current state of affairs, which is pretty rough.
Pretty rough.
Pretty rough.
Yeah.
Pretty rough, I would say. So I've been asking everybody that I've interviewed, and I've interviewed a lot over the last couple of days, did you watch the full George Floyd murder? Like, did you watch the video?
Yes.
You were able to watch it?
Mm-hmm.
I have a bunch of people tell me they can't even watch the whole thing.
I heard.
Yeah.
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 I had to.
Yeah? You just needed to...
Yeah. I needed to know. Yeah. I watched the Aubrey video, too.
Mm.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
My heart, the Aubrey video was bad.
Yeah.
But the Floyd video, as a mom, you know, when
he's calling for mom?
Yeah, when he called for his mom, like...
That was heartbreaking.
I think every mother in America...
was like...
was like, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one... that one was tough.
Yeah.
As a mom.
Yeah.
hurt my heart.
Yeah. It's okay. We're just kind of more real here. People, if you got to take a call, you can take a call. Well, oh, man. Did you watch the whole thing?
I watched the entire video. And when I watch videos like that, the thought process that comes in your head is you're wondering, was that justifiable by the police officer or sheriff or anything like that? Because there are times when people does things that
the police got to, they got to step in. Now, we're not saying that there's never a time for people to use restraint holds and stuff.
So,
but
my whole thought process with that is just to make sure that when I'm watching the video, was that justifiable?
You don't go in. You try to not go into it loaded with like that.
Absolutely.
Because I think right now the emotions have boiled over. I interviewed a gentleman yesterday that I think, I don't know if he'd agree with me, but I think there are people, and I think he's in that category that's going into every one of these things like, here we go again. Not that this wasn't justified. I mean, this one was like, here we go again. But I think they're looking into every situation as here we go again with every police officer.
Of course.
And I think that's the negative effects of this, right? Is that you get like a long,
One of the things that stood out to me, like, it's tough for me to digest the charge, and look, I don't care what he was doing, I don't care even that he had wrote a bad check or, counterfeit or whatever it was, because I've heard a few different things. But to go on trial right there, right afterwards, and be executed right there, right afterwards.
Yes.
That
the
for
denial
me,
of due process.
Yeah, like that's just. And do I think that the officer thought he was killing him? I don't necessarily think that.
No.
No. I don't think that he thought he was killing him.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think?
I mean, you got your weight of your knee on someone's neck, and that person is crying out. I mean, at some point you would think that that officer would have had mercy.
Yeah.
And they had him handcuffed. So I don't know about that he didn't think he was killing them, but then again, you had your knee and the weight of your body on top of his neck.
But remember, somebody said in one of the videos, one of the cops said, if he can talk, he can breathe.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, maybe he thought that, the guy's just trying to get up or whatever the case may be.
And it's not out of the realm of possibility. Look, I'm not defending this guy, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that if you're a cop and you're dealing with a bunch of different cases every day, and it's obviously probably confronting some pretty knuckleheads deals every day, that every time you're starting to arrest somebody, they're like, you hurt me, you hurt me, hurt. Yeah. And so I get that component.
I do.
But when it goes on for 9 minutes, that's where we get to like, I don't even know if that at that point, does it matter if he knew, or is the negligence just so severe that you should have known?
I think it changed at like minute 5 or 6 when he became lifeless.
Yeah. And okay, that's a good point. He's not moving at some point. Yeah, why are we still on top of him? Right.
And that was the thing I was about to mention about at least being on top of his neck for 8 minutes. You know, that's quite a bit of a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you had 4 officers around him, or 3, and he was handcuffed, and you can't detain him. I mean.
Yeah.
Yes. So in that capacity, I know we get into like the minutia and the nuance when we start talking like, but do you think he was charged correctly? What do we got now? Is he up to second degree?
He's second degree now.
Yeah. You think that's the right charge?
Yes.
Yeah.
Considering what first degree is, like, I don't necessarily think that there was a premeditation that, when I arrest this guy, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that. I think that it would be hard to get a conviction in first degree, so you want to charge it correctly, and I'm okay with the second degree. The third was a little.
I've done a bunch of panel discussions on this too, and everybody has said the same thing. Let's be careful here.
Yeah.
We've had cases where we've overcharged, and that was our problem.
Trayvon Martin.
Yeah. Like we get these cases, and I think there's this like the public is upset and there's this outcry. And we put all this pressure on these DAs and they upcharge. And I think they're in a room with other DAs going, I don't think we're going to get this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much pressure. They're like, I'm going to lose my job if I don't charge, right?
Yep.
And then it goes bad in court because what's just and what's legal sometimes are not exactly the same thing. And I know that's hard to hear in situations like this, but we have to be wise.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And we have to be willing to face the reality of our legal system and its shortcomings and just go, look.
I knew that we weren't going to get a conviction in the Trayvon Martin case.
Me too.
Because of the instructions to what we're looking at. We weren't him pursuing Trayvon after the 911 dispatcher said, don't pursue. That wasn't on trial.
Down.
But the instruction to the jury, they had no choice.
I agree.
I knew that.
And
wasn't gonna
I
happen.
agree that, I look at that case too. We can't get into the whole details of that case, but I look at that case and I go, that's a situation, right, where I think any level-headed person would look and go, does this guy, does Zimmerman bear what is the responsibility? Everybody level-headed looks at this and goes, yes, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But in our legal environment, we have to be careful.
Yes.
Like there are rules and there are standards and there are like all of these intricacies that we don't always understand.
Yeah.
Right? I don't until I'm watching court TV and do I understand it? And then I'm like, we in trouble here. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I don't know. There you go. Okay. So with that said, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the parenting aspect. So when you see all this stuff going down, how do you feel as parents? How does that change the way you talk to your kids? What do you do differently that probably I'm not doing with my kids? What's the deal? Give the white boy some insight here on what's going on in a typical Christian black home.
Well, let me ask you this, Mike. If you had a child that's, I guess, a teenager, 18 or older,
right?
I don't think that you would have to have the talk with your child if you get pulled over, how to cooperate or comply. That's the talk as black parents or as blacks have to have with your children if you get pulled over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into the details because I think it's more nuanced than this. So this is what I do. This may surprise you. So I have had very specific talks with my kids, but my talks are very firm. I get the impression that your talks are more about the negative potential outcomes.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So my talks are always like this. I'm like, because I was telling this to their panel. All these schools have a school resource officer. It's an actual police officer. It's on site. And I tell my kids this: you don't talk to a police officer without me present, ever.
I can't have that conversation.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I say you get called to the office and they want to talk to you about something that happened and it's the police officer. I say, we're going to have to wait till my dad gets here because I'm not allowed to talk to you.
But if my child says,
I get it.
Wait until my dad gets here.
Maybe that would turn out differently. At least that's how you feel.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I don't we raise our kids to respect authority.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And me too. I'm pro law enforcement. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, look, I watch too many of these crazy movies and like all this crazy stuff that happens in these
I get
dramas. I'm just like, nah, I'm just going to pass. You're under my authority till you're 18, so let's just have me present before.
And we're saying 18, but to be honest, my son's 12. And so those conversations are starting now.
Oh, yeah.
Because he could be riding his bike down the street. Sure. And, I want to be really raw, but the whole you fit the description of, for me, doesn't always fit.
Doesn't always feel like it's true.
I literally want to go back and say, okay, what call was made in this area at this time that said that this boy looked like...
Right.
So at 12 years old, I am having that conversation with my son now on how to comply with everything that's being said to him. But I got to be honest, I watched a video the other day of a gentleman that was complying and ended up being arrested. And I watched the video 2 or 3 times to find out when he resisted arrest. because he didn't.
Yeah.
You know, and this stuff isn't just starting. You know, it's just being filmed more now, I feel.
I think that's a big deal, right?
Which kind of changes everything. I would want to believe that if my son was at school and had to go to the principal's office or a school resource officer called him out, that my son could say, I would like to wait to say anything until my mom and dad get here. I would love to believe that the officer is going to allow that to happen without slapping him in handcuffs and saying that he's resisting. But I don't have that same confidence that I wish that I did, but no, I don't. So then what I have to teach my son is do what they tell you to do.
So you're big on, like, don't talk back, don't raise your voice, do what you're asked, just
comply.
Just comply.
Just come home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come home safe,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna handle him.
Yeah.
I'll handle it after that, but come home safe.
Right.
And then I have to pray that this officer doesn't feel like my son is posing a threat in any way, even by I don't know, turning around the wrong way or getting a little jumpy or being scared himself. So now the officer's scared and feels threatened.
Right.
And now I'm in a position where I got to bury my child. It is a real feeling.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to the podcast last night, and I remember the gentleman saying, no, I think it was you that said, talking about the Black Lives Matter, not to go too far off, but I believe that all lives matter, right? The problem is we don't have to say that white lives matter because we're not dealing with that every day. It's when we're talking and saying Black Lives Matter, I'm not saying that your life doesn't matter. I'm just screaming that somebody has to realize that these lives do matter and that something has to change. Because I shouldn't have to feel as a mother that my child's life at 12 years old is in danger from the people that I pay tax dollars to protect and serve.
Yes.
But that is such a real feeling right now that is so scary. I was at home the other day, and I'm working from home now. And Zion wants to go out and he wants to play, basketball. We bought him a goal. He wants to play basketball in the front. There are times that I say no because in my head, I don't know who's going to come by, and I don't know if somebody's going to think that he's being a threat. So I don't let my child play outside unless really he's home.
Right.
That's not fair.
Yeah. You shouldn't feel, it's crazy that in your own country, your own state, your own city, that there's this abiding kind of worry about the outcomes.
Mm-hmm. That is the reality. Like, you can say, don't think the worst, but the alternative is that I may bury my child,
Yeah, you got to be careful here.
My 21-year-old, I bought him a car, and we put his car on our insurance, and he texted me the other day, and he said, "Mom, I'm going to get my own insurance." He said, "I got my own insurance."
Okay.
I'm like, what the heck?
Okay. Okay.
You didn't have to do that, help me out. I'm not complaining.
Because I've paid for insurance on an 18-year-old. It's not pretty.
Okay, that part.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did you do that? There's so much more that you need to be building towards. Why did you do that? He said, I don't want to get pulled over and everything's not in order.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. That's crazy.
He's like, I don't
Do you worry more about your 12-year-old or your 21-year-old?
A 21-year-old.
Oh, absolutely, right? I mean, that's me too. I'm like, this kid's out in the world. I'm like, oh God, I can't tell you how many times I say, don't do something stupid. just please don't do something stupid.
But Mike, you said don't do anything stupid.
Right.
I have to say.
Yeah, that's a difference. Yeah. You look at it differently.
I look at it differently.
Yeah.
That's just.
I just keep saying to him, like, I say ever since 18, I say, look, bro, you're now at an age where the mistakes you make, I can't fix for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just can't mediate them. You know what I mean? This is, you're a man. You're on your own. So, like, don't do anything stupid.
Yeah. It's going to follow you. It can follow you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I think where we split is, again, he didn't have to do anything stupid, to end up on the other side. And that's why I do preach the comply. Like, if there's going to be a video of Julius Trayvon Harris or Zion Makai Mathews, that video is going to show him literally doing this the whole time. Like, because I can't have anybody taking their actions the wrong way. Yeah.
Do you think, I've read a couple studies now that shows a fair amount of evidence that there's something going on. And look, we're not psychiatrists or psychologists. I'm not pretending to be. I don't know. We're just spitballing. We're sitting here at the church just talking, okay? But I've read a couple studies that say, look, there's something going on here. And if we had to boil it down to a simple sentence, it would be that white people, and I speak as part of this group, have some level of fear when it comes to black men. There's something going on here that we can't put our finger on. And I know there are people listening to this right now who are going, oh, that's a bunch of bull crap. I don't have any fear. And to some extent, I kind of feel that way. I kind of feel like I don't feel that, right? But the science tends to lean in that direction, the social science, and we know that's about as accurate. But you know what I'm saying? What we got right now is telling us, like, hey, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
Do you think there's something going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. What is that?
You know what's funny? I'm black.
and you grab the purse a little tighter? Is that what you were about to say?
And yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you think it's like a universal thing towards black men? Would it be any man though, or black men?
No, it's black men.
Okay. And what is that?
And I think it has to do with what we see. Like, I think it has to do with media. I think it has to do with
the narrative.
What's
told.
reported.
Yeah.
Like, I don't go to Pine Hills without locking my doors.
Crime Hills.
Like, my son and my husband came home the other day, and they come in the garage. Listen, every door is going to be locked, and the alarm is going to be on stay if I'm in that house by myself. Like, it's just that's just me. And my son was like, how much you want to bet the doors are locked to the garage? And they hate when I do that. But look, I ain't playing. But I do, I think that there is something that can be said to that. And I think it has to do a lot with the narrative that's spun in the media. And
how we digest.
Everywhere.
Like, so that's an interesting point that I haven't really thought of. And it's been discussed in some of these interviews that I've done that for a long time, and look, bear with us here. Give us some grace as we talk about this. Because I think there are some people looking at this going, okay, you guys are like just down a rabbit hole, but whatever. Just for a second, give us some grace. It is interesting. The last couple of years, when it came to the awards for movies, Emmy Awards and all this stuff, there's been some backlash about black participating roles in major roles and stuff. And there's been critics that have been saying, hey, Hollywood is constantly providing roles to black characters that are these negative roles. But that kind of goes with your thinking, right? Like if we're constantly taking in real life stuff that's negative, right? From black crime, and we know that we have a black crime problem.
Yes.
And we're taking in, golly, like Chicago is like, it's a mess, right? And then if you take in fictional
characters that are constantly, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, at what point does that start to affect the way you think and view the world?
Every point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, so have you felt that way, like moving through life as, you know, a black man? Have you felt like, I think this person's looking at me a little scared right now?
Not really.
No?
You know, I guess I was raised a little different. I never felt like somebody felt afraid. I mean, at least they didn't portray it
Project it. Okay.
or told me or felt that way. These conversations sometimes a little, I don't want to get too personal about it
Right.
or too emotional. So sometimes I just sit back and listen.
Yeah.
Because all these things goes back to
Way back. Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
trickle down effect
Yes.
throughout history. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I try not, you know, we on a podcast, we're talking. I don't want to get too emotional or get too militant or anything like that.
Oh,
So,
Lord.
Listen.
I-
Feel free. Get militant or what?
Yeah, well, not militant, but I you know, that's why I just be humble and just listen.
Yeah.
It goes deep.
Yeah.
It's really deep.
Yeah.
But the main thing, I guess, that I haven't, you know, honestly, you know, going through my life, I'm 42 years old.
Okay.
And I guess my environment I've been around, I was accepted by other whites,
Mm-hmm.
high school and college and so forth. Like, even now, my white friends, we like brothers.
Yeah.
So I guess I put myself around people that like me
Yeah.
as well as I like them, and they don't look at my skin color.
Yeah.
You know.
That's how I got to tell you. That's how I feel a lot. And I understand that when you look at the breadth of the country, maybe my experience and maybe your experience is not everybody else's experience.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I feel. And sometimes when you start to say that, it feels like you're not going along with the negative thing. And they're like, oh, you're trying to say that it's not that. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that either. I'm not saying somebody else's experience isn't real.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I don't feel that. But the social science is saying, hey, something's happening here.
Yeah.
We don't fully understand it. And there's some outcomes to these feelings that are ugly.
But it's not the friends that are murdering us.
Wow. Good point.
So it's not the friend that I have to worry about. It's those people that I might meet in the street, or it's the police officer
Yeah.
that, you know. That
You
I
ever had
have
a
to
bad
worry
experience with a police officer?
Honestly, I wouldn't say a bad experience. You know,
Okay.
more so, I guess, asking questions. And I remember one time I got pulled over. The officer was asking, you know, saying, you know, asking so many questions, just digging for things.
Yeah.
And then he asked this one question: "Can I search your car?"
Yeah.
And he just pulled me over for me not turning
Signaling
on
or
my
something?
turn signals.
Yeah.
For a split second, I felt like anger, and I wanted to say something. But then again, I guess the spiritual man in me said, "Go ahead, yeah." As soon as I said that, he said, "Oh, never mind." Because had I said no,
We might have had an issue.
would have had an issue, or it would have gave him more reason to maybe want to search the car. So I said, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
So he said, no, never mind. Just make sure you just be safe, or put on your turn signals when you turn. So
Yeah. You ever had a bad experience?
Yes.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
How'd it go?
Once.
What?
Just once. I was working, I manage apartment communities.
Yeah.
And so I started out in Pine Hills, real tough areas.
Okay.
They would send me to different properties to kind of bring them up. And there had been a shooting at my property. And
Okay.
so I was very sheltered growing up. Y'all already know that. So there's a shooting on my property. So I thought that the FBI is supposed to come every time there's a shooting.
Where's the helicopter getting here?
I get back to the back of the property, and they're just picking up the shells.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, aren't you supposed to put the little tent card? Like,
Yeah. Where are the yellow cards?
I was like, well, is there going to be an investigation? Is there anything that I need to do? Is there a report that I need to make? And the police officer was like, no, just somebody shooting. And I was like, so what's the what's the next step? And he's like, there is no next step. And I was like, that don't make no sense to me.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you don't step back, I'm going to arrest you.
It escalated quickly.
I was like, what did I do? And he's like, ma'am, step back. And I didn't understand why he was, that could have not necessarily have been a black-white thing, but I just didn't understand why he treated me like that. So I stepped the heck back and, but in my mind, I say, if I was a white woman or if I was a white man, would he have treated me like that?
Right.
I don't know the answer to that, but that's probably the only negative encounter I've ever had with a police officer.
I'm in this, like, since this whole thing's happened and since we've started, we've dedicated part of this podcast over this season to these issues. I'm in multiple text threads, multiple Facebook Messenger threads on this subject. And everybody's been, for the most part, there's been some tense moments, but for the most part, we're just going, well, okay, what about this? And what about this? And what about, there's just kind of like, can we dig to get to the bottom of some of these numbers, of some of these experiences, of some of these? And so there's like, because of the cell phone culture now, like there's hundreds and thousands of videos of police encounters. It's crazy. You can go on a deep dive in YouTube on this stuff. I mean, you can spend a day or two. And I was looking at some today because, and I'm not trying to change the narrative, but I really was looking at some today, and you bring up an interesting point where the police, there were really negative outcomes. The ones I looked at 7 today that were death outcomes with police, but they were white cases. And so I'm wondering from your perspective, am I more inclined to, because I'm white, believe that what's happening here is a power problem with the police to the public? Because I'm looking at the numbers in the videos and I'm going, well, there's a lot of white people getting some stuff going down here too. Yeah. Right? And are you, from your experience and your culture, looking at it and going, no, I feel like there's yes, it's a police thing, but it's a police thing targeted more at the black community? I mean, is that potential? And maybe that's potentially possible, and we're both kind of right and kind of wrong. Maybe there's a messy middle there somewhere. You know
I think there is a messy middle.
Yeah.
I believe it is a power issue.
I do too.
I think that but that's not the only issue that we have.
Sure.
Of course,
absolutely. And
but
this
the
was
power
just about
thing
death.
is real.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's very real. I guess where we kind of change is that most of the people in power are Caucasian. So now it's very hard to find out, is this just a power thing or is this a race thing? Because it's hard not to believe race doesn't play at least some sort of trickle down ripple roll when the person that's getting shot or killed, like in the Floyd case, is black and the officer's white. Yeah. It's hard not to go, this doesn't look great. And I believe that it happens to all races. Like, I believe that hands down. Yeah. I guess that the outrage of this, though, is that the man was already in handcuffs. Yeah. And you have your knee on his neck even after they checked his pulse.
Yeah. There's no excuse for this thing.
Like,
it's a disaster.
That's just the outrage right now. And, all the rioting stuff, that's huge. But I think it comes to a point where you say, how do you get somebody's attention? I saw a video. I posted on Instagram, but I think that Instagram deleted it. There's this little boy. He walks into this building. This broke my heart as a mom. So he walks into this building, and he looks up at the sign. He goes in, and this lady is like, hey, how can I help you? He wouldn't say anything. And it looks like it was like a doctor's office. So the lady beckoned for a guy, and this black gentleman came out. He had on a doctor's coat, so I think it was a doctor's office. And so he gets down on the little boy's level, and he's like, hey, bud, what's going on? What's up? How can I help you? And the little boy says, can you get rid of this for me? And he lifts up his shirt. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
It was a bullseye.
Oh, my God.
Like on his chest. And then the guy starts having a conversation with him, and he's like, no, I can't get rid of that.
Oh.
And starts having that conversation on how
horrible.
to.
That's
Yeah,
a
that
horrible
was,
metaphor. I mean, that is awful.
Wow.
but I know that it's awful. But that's how we feel.
But that's how I feel. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's how I feel.
Like we are being targeted.
Like we are being targeted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when you said you got pulled over and the cop asked to search your car, it's funny because you said yes, and I think I'd be tempted to say no.
I was very tempted to say no, but
You can
I
say
would,
no.
but I think that's the difference, right? I think when you told, I was thinking, yeah, I probably would have said no.
Yeah.
You know, just sometimes if I don't feel like I've done anything wrong, I probably would have said no. Actually, if I thought I did something wrong, I probably would have said no.
But I have to teach my son.
Just go
To
ahead and
say
say
yes.
yes. Yeah.
but I did it because I know he was digging for things
Yeah.
prior to me getting pulled over.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a routine traffic stop. You want to search my car? For a split second, I was about to tell him no, but some say yes. As soon as I say yes, he said never mind.
Yeah.
I guess he wanted to see what I was going to say.
I think that's exactly what he was doing. He was just, and look, to some extent, you kind of say, okay, I get. If you believed in your heart of hearts that he did that if the cop did that with everyone, that wouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah.
The problem is
Yes.
not that. The problem is you believe, right or wrong, you believe
Yeah.
he does it with the black guys.
Yeah.
And doesn't do it with the white guys.
Yeah.
And also,
I mean, that's the problem, right? I
Yes.
mean, that's where we are in our country.
Yes.
Now, whether that's true, it's definitely the experience.
And
That's
we may need to kind of calm down and say, because everybody's not out to get us. You know, like I heard you say last night on the thing about the Jubilees, which that's a whole different subject. but every cop's not out to get us. But it's figuring out, and there's no way to know what's what. But trying to figure it out, and there are times where I would have thought to say, no, but I don't know if this is the one that's going to get trigger happy with me, so let me just treat everybody the same.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. I think that when you get to the messy middle of what's going on, I think the one thing I've learned through all these conversations is I'm not even sure. Okay, I'm going to be careful with my words here.
We're going to sponsor you, so go
Thank
ahead.
you. Well, I'm more worried about how stupid I'm going to sound. So I'm not sure that facts matter at a certain level.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, let's say if you're listening to this, or if you're or watching this, and you think to yourself, I don't think the facts bear out your worry, but you're still really worried. And you're my sister, and you're my brother, and this is a deep place of like concern, and in that, like, I'm not sure the facts really matter in that anymore.
Yeah.
I think when we start talking about like police reform and what we're going to do and how we're going to vote and how we're going to change our country, yes, we need to go through some of the facts. But I think the starting point is, God, it breaks my heart that that's the way you think as a mom.
And you know what, Mike? I was thinking this last night. I feel like that's when you say, what do you need from us?
Yeah.
That's me, I don't know about everybody else.
Right.
I just need somebody to say, it's wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong for how you feel. What happened to you or what happened to that child or what happened to George Floyd, it was wrong.
Yeah.
Period. I feel like that's what I need to hear.
Yeah.
In order to then feel like we are in this together and we're going to search to find, I don't know, a solution or a way to cope through this thing.
Yeah.
I think we just want to feel like you get it,
Yeah.
you know?
Do you have white friends you've had to give some encouragement to in this time? Like help
Yeah.
them? What have you said?
Because I've seen some posts, you know, and I'm just like,
Facebook
listen,
and social media is the worst. Like you should just opt it out.
I'm like, listen, let me school you if we're
Yeah.
going to stay friends, you know?
Right.
Like, but I realize that when they ask those questions, they really just,
don't know.
they just don't know. And
Okay.
so it then is my duty as your black friend to maybe help you understand, and your duty as my white friend to kind of give me a peek into your world.
Yeah.
Like,
The more we talk, the better things get.
We have no choice but to communicate.
But have you had some like one-on-ones or some talks and where you've had to say,
Yes.
hey, listen, I think you're missing the point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How did it go?
And that was with the whole Black Lives Matter thing.
Okay.
Because I don't understand why people are offended when we say Black Lives Matter.
Mhm.
Given what is happening, I'm not saying that your life doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm just saying that because we're getting killed at alarming rates by police, and not just by police, but by vigilante wannabe police or retired police.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, join me in this thing that tells everybody that my life matters too.
Right.
I'm not saying that yours doesn't matter. And so we did. I had that conversation with a friend of mine, and she understood. I think she understood.
Okay. You felt like it was a good outcome?
I did, but no, I felt like at the end of it, no, I just lied. I don't think she understood. I really think. I really think that she didn't get it. But when you, her worldview is completely different than mine.
Yeah.
You know, so it would be hard for her to understand why I'm so guarded with my children and what I teach them and what I
Right.
tell them. So she would never understand that because she doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
You've been talking to white friends, white coworkers about this stuff?
I guess at work, I work at the hospital at Advent Health, and I guess it's a sensitive situation. It's corporate, so I guess you got to be careful what you say.
Oh, yeah.
But most of my friends, I guess they don't look at me, my skin color. They look at me as a brother, a friend, a coworker.
I agree.
And to reiterate what my wife was saying about Black Lives Matter, a lot of people, misconstrue what Black Lives Matter mean. It's not exclusive.
Yeah.
It's a focus.
Yeah.
That's what Black Lives Matter. They focusing on unarmed black people getting disproportionately killed
Yeah.
by officers. That's why Colin Kaepernick took the knee.
Yeah.
It was hijacked by other people saying it's disrespectful to take a knee.
Yeah.
He was just protesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when you're having those kind of conversations, do they end up going well?
No, it goes well. I mean, it goes well. I guess, like you said,
Are you afraid to have those conversations?
No, absolutely.
You're happy to like go, okay, let's talk. Let's get
because if
down.
somebody's willing to talk about it, to me, that's when it opens up. So now we can really get an understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Plus, I guess my white friends at work, they understand what's wrong, what's right, and that they wasn't raised that way.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a coworker that was raised differently or had a different perspective and thought that those things were right.
Right.
He wouldn't be my friend. I wouldn't associate with that type of person.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever had anybody that you were working with or doing life with that you just felt like this person
Don't get it.
I think they might, whether they knew it or not, were bigoted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. And mostly people in authority.
Really?
People that I can't do anything about.
Oh, okay. So the power again. We're back to this power thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So So if it's somebody in authority where it was like, well, I'm just going to have to take it.
Yeah. Well, especially because the people that I'm talking about, they like white, but they like green a lot more.
Yeah, everybody likes green, girl.
And listen, I can help you make green.
Yeah.
So, and I think that they got that and understood that. I felt like I was tolerated, but I was irreplaceable. So I wasn't going anywhere. But yeah, they didn't respect me as a black woman, but they respected what I did, and I was okay with that. They still wrote the check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt held back? Have you ever felt like that racism affected your career or affected your trajectory?
Not really. No.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this guy's just getting through on personality over here.
Yeah. Personality and his beautiful eyes.
No. I mean,
Corey's a very mild person. You can't not love his personality.
Okay.
no, what it is that I was never handed anything. I had to work hard or I had to go out and get it.
Yeah.
And I guess me going out to get it respectfully, it was given to me because I earned it.
Yeah.
And one thing about Advent Health is backed by 7-Day Adventists. So most of the people there are 7-Day Adventists. So it's a different culture atmosphere there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure it may be racist or people that's bigoted there, or, like that. But in my perspective, since I've been working there for the last 6 years, I haven't had that experience with anyone there. Now, there are times a nurse or a doctor has said some things, but I put them in their place, or I would be professional about it.
Right.
But I move on.
Yeah.
Because my whole thing is I have to provide for my family.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't go out there, get into an argument or a fight or with other coworkers about something that's not going to pay my bills.
Okay, can I get into a sensitive area? Can you? Okay, you got the. Remember, we're co-signing. You're giving me grace. You're sponsoring. Let's do this. Because you said something that pricked my interest there. I think as someone looking in, and there's no way for me to understand your experience. So this is why these conversations are so important. But looking in, I look at it from a spiritual component, and I go, I believe that the history of our country has a trickle-down effect, and that in that aspect there is systematic evil that flourishes in probably components of racism. So I agree at a number of levels in these things. I think we would, if we got down to the nitty-gritty, we'd find things we in nuance didn't agree about, but we probably agree about 90% of it, and we're like, kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
But I do notice there's this thing, and I notice it a lot in younger black culture, but I do notice that when there's too much of an outward focus on what's happened in the past or the negative trickle-down effect to the future, and I'm going to use a word that's a loaded word, and I know it could be a trigger word, but I just want to say, and if you're angry with me, it's fine. Just give me your opinion on this. But do you think that too much of that can create a victim mentality and a victim culture? Because I worry about that. Because I feel like I know you too well enough to know you're not instilling that in your kids.
Oh,
you're instilling, like, get out there and get it. Like, watch mama do her thing, right? Which is not that victim mentality. Nothing holds me back. I'm on. Let's do this. So, but do you worry about that within black culture, that there could be too much of a victim mentality?
I do. And let me preface the answer with this. Do I believe that I have to work harder?
Okay.
Yes. Hands down.
Yeah. But that's not victim.
But
you know what that is? That's like, I'm
gonna
grind
work
it out.
harder.
That's right. But I think that's I think that's like the
harder.
American ideal and dream and passion, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe that. I think that it's maybe a little stretch to say the American dream because
Okay. But you know what I'm saying?
But
that
a
mentality
dream
of like, here,
yes.
anything's possible.
Absolutely.
And even if I started, even if the cards were stacked against me,
I'm still going.
I'm going to get it.
Absolutely. And I think that too has to do with the fact that I think that everything works in my favor because
well,
like
part of
I'm
your
not,
faith.
yeah, like,
Yeah. Nothing
yes,
formed
that-
against me will stand.
absolutely.
Come on now.
But I realize that some of my African-American sisters and brothers don't necessarily have that same belief system.
Okay.
And because of that, then yeah, when you look at 400 years, like I don't look at the 400 years because I wasn't there. and that's not being disrespectful to my ancestors and
Right.
what, really did happen to them. But I feel like everything that they went through was so that I could work like I work now and not have to deal with some of those things that they had to deal with. So I do think that the sky is the limit for me. And that's what I teach my children. However, I do have the conversation that says, yeah, you got to work harder, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
But you better work harder because
Yeah.
if you don't work hard,
Yeah.
you're not going to attain the things that you want.
Yeah. Right.
But it is possible. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's so important across the board. I don't care what the race, Asian, Hispanic,
Yes.
black, white, whatever. But I think we got to instill in this next generation a spiritual foundation that says, hey, guess what? If God's for me, no one can be against me.
Yeah.
And an overcomer kind of mentality, we can't go through life going, the deck's stacked against me.
Yeah.
I'm never getting out. We're in a rut. Victim. So
Yeah.
I think we've got to look at this and go, and I know that probably sounds bad too. I'm sure there's people yelling at the TV right now, but you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I mean, you got to take your own destiny in your own hands.
Right.
I'm never going to be anybody's victim. I'm never going to allow a circumstance or a situation to determine where I end up.
Right.
And I think that's why it's so important to me to empower young people. I just happen to be a Black female, so I feel like I need to help Black young females.
Right.
And if I can help any young female, it's cool with me. But I want to show them that, this is possible. I mean, look at Barack Obama. Look at Michelle Obama. Like, what we've been in the White House.
All right.
We've been in the White House.
They're doing all right.
So the victim thing, yeah, I can't get with that.
Yeah. I understand having a real conversation and facing the realities, but the outflow to that about your countenance and about your purpose and about your destiny and about what you can achieve and what you're going to instill. I just think those two things. I see that. That's where it diverges, I think, for believers to some extent. I think you could look at this and you could go, woe is me, or you could look at this and you could go, okay, if God is for me, nothing can be against me. Watch this. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure there are people who don't have that type of faith, who are listening to this, either podcast or viewing this, who are going, yeah, right. But I believe that.
Yeah. But if you continue to believe the opposite, we're going to be 20, 30, 50 years down the line in the same position. Like, it's just not going to change.
I agree.
I think that the only way out of this is through Christ. And you guys said something very interesting, like the church should be the lead on this thing. And we're not. Yeah,
we're letting the narrative, just the news and the social media and the Facebook.
I want to chime in on something. I know you mentioned that about the victim thing. I don't think that Black people are claiming that victim thing, but if you look over the years, there has been unfairness. Across the board. Yeah. And I think that's what it is. I don't think it's a victim thing. It's just unfairness across the board. Stating back from the proclamation. How you pronounce
Proclamation?
Yes. To civil rights, Jim Crow laws, and even to this day. Yeah. I don't think it's a victim thing. I just think, as me, I look at it as, do I get a fair opportunity in life, or a fair opportunity with shooting or going for the same goals as you?
Yeah. I think, here's the thing though, and I'm pushing back, and I know, but think about this. I think that's what you think. I think you guys are killing it, right? But you'd have to admit that there's people out there who have thrown up their hands and said, this is as good as whether that's an excuse to get into the streets, whether that's an excuse to get into drug abuse, whether that's an excuse to get into whatever, and just said, well, this is as good as it'll get for us, and told themselves they can't get better because of the system. That's what I like about what you're saying is we'll face the reality. We'll call it what it is. I'm happy to say that we had an unfair beginning if you compare it historically, yada, yada, yada. Yes. Systematic, yes. But we're not going to sit there. We're not going to let anybody tell us that because of that, we can't.
Yes.
I think that's what faith is.
But keep in mind the way that we were raised affords us to look at it that way.
Okay, so that's okay. So then that goes back to family heritage and family experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think how a person is raised is.
And you think that was instilled with you from your parents?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
We
Definitely.
both was raised with both parents being in the home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And both parents are, being strict, going to church, or,
You had a
raising
choice.
you the right way.
I said that. I think I said that to Daryl too. That's one of the numbers that's shocking to me. Did I say that in that interview?
I can't remember.
I said one of the numbers that sits out that's shocking to me, and I think that this is circling the drain of what we're saying, is that one of the latest numbers I looked at is that 67% of children are born into single parent homes in Black culture. And I'm like, yikes, that number's floored me. I was like, whoa, right? But here you have this mentality that I think is, I think I understand. And I'm not saying that the people that have a different mentality are wrong, right? I think that's their experience. I'm just saying, I get this. This rings true with the biblical worldview to me. And maybe that's in part because of the family experience.
I definitely think so. I will say this, and I've heard people say that, the black man's not there. The black man's missing out of the home. Absolutely. I don't necessarily blame that on just the black man.
No, I'm sure there's reasons for that too.
There's
in a context.
There's a whole lot of reasons, and I think that sometimes society makes it, and government makes it easier for the black woman without the black man. And
I think we have a system that incentivizes women to be single.
Okay, exactly. And because of that, there are some people that, like I said, weren't raised like Corey and I, and I think it goes back to just listening. I made my son I tried to make him, he fell asleep. But there was a movie that I wanted him to see. It's called, what is it? Hidden Figures. Hidden Figures. I love that movie.
I haven't seen it. Is it good?
You haven't?
I haven't seen it.
Wow.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, you can't be a black person's friend, Mike, unless you see this. So I'm going to need you to go.
I'm watching it tonight. I'm watching it tonight.
Go watch
so
it.
it's about,
what's it about?
It's about the three or four young black women
Is this the one at
that
NASA?
work for NASA. Yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but I need to see it.
You gotta see this movie. So at one point, this lady, she's like the mathematician that put John Glenn in orbit.
On the moon?
Like literally. Like John Glenn was like, I ain't going up there unless she run the numbers.
Okay.
So the head of NASA, he would come out of his office in the movie. I don't know how much of this is true, but in the movie, made for a good movie. He came out of his office and he's like, where do you go for 2 hours a day? I'm not paying you for this. You're just lazy. Like it was, and she stood up to Raji P. Henson. Shout out. She stood up and she's like, I have to go to the bathroom. And there are no colored bathrooms in this building. So I have to run 3 or 4 blocks away, I think it was.
You say almost like a mile.
Yeah, to use the bathroom and come back. So when you ask me where I've been, that's where I've been. And this was the head of NASA. He then goes and he's like, you know what? We don't have no colored bathrooms out here. He takes a crowbar and he takes down the sign that says whites only. And he's like, at NASA, we all one color.
Okay.
Like, and it
you can't tell the movie too much for me.
I know you don't give the whole thing away.
But the whole reason I say that is because she pushed for change. Like she was working at NASA. Like we had no business in NASA.
Right.
But unless somebody pushed, and I think that's why we are past Jim Crow. I think that's why we are past the segregation, because somebody pushed. But if we sit down and we take the victim mentality, then we're not going to push our children to the next level. And I know that there are people that weren't raised with, the same views that I have, to want to do better or to know, because I don't say that nobody wants to do better, but to know that you can have better and do better. Right. Once that is planted, I think that kind of changes things. Yeah. But it's a matter of the church getting involved and making sure that people know that there's a possibility. It's a matter of us successful black people going back in and saying, hey, you can do this. Yeah. I think there's work on all parts that needs to be done in order to get that narrative like running through the black community. Yeah. Otherwise, you will stay with that.
Again,
mindset.
I'm gonna go back to what I'm saying about this victim thing. For instance, I have a ton of friends that's been in prison and have paid their debts back to society while they're in prison. When they get out, they can't restore their rights to vote or get certain jobs. And that's not a victim thing. That's just something that was taken away by law. Yeah. And it's harder for them to get back on their feet
Yeah.
with all the trials or tribulations or negativities or things that's against them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's why before you commit the crime, you think about not like you. Before I do this, I know that
Everyone
rights.
makes mistakes.
I know that, baby. But
I
I mean,
I was happy. I could be wrong, but I was happy. We had some debates during the last election because I think they just changed that now. I think they just changed it where if you have a federal or a
rights are restored.
Yeah, rights can be restored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is I think the right thing. I think if you look, you do the time, you do the crime, you do the time. It shouldn't follow you for the rest of your days. Either we have a society that restores people or they don't.
Yeah.
This in between stuff. I understand what you're saying. I think what I'm saying is, hey, I agree with you. Before you rob the liquor store or whatever, think about that could set you back. You know what I'm saying? But I think on the other hand, it's like, hey, somebody made a decision at a legal level higher than us that when a person commits a crime, they get out, they're not allowed to vote. They have to put on every job application that they're, they have federal crime. You're right. There is a system that you can't just pay your dues and go on. It's going to haunt you. You know what I'm saying? Now, I get your argument. You kind of knew that going in, but is that really, is that the society we want to have? Do you know what I'm saying? Is that how we want to function? You know what I mean? To me, I said no. I said I think I voted for the rights to be restored. I had other friends that were like,
voting
no.
rights, absolutely.
No.
I believe that. However,
But I think it depends on experience.
I do. Okay.
Let me tell you why.
Okay, I give you that.
I won't. This person will remain nameless. You'll know who he is. This person will remain nameless. But I was talking to a black prosecutor here in the state of Florida. Doesn't matter where, and he was voting against it. He was like, "You don't know these people, Mike. I'm in courtroom every day. These some bad people." And I'm like, "Yeah, but if they paid, they gotta be restored." It was like, no.
Okay, so what about a sex offender?
Dude, don't get me on that. Why are you doing that's a different podcast.
But he paid.
Believe I have an interesting. We can't even open this door. Don't know. We can't even open this door. This is a crazy. People are yelling right now at their car radios and everything. Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, we'll do that another day.
Okay.
I have a great documentary on that.
Okay,
but we'll do that another day. But I think that what I'm trying to say is, no matter what, I don't care the color. If you have negative things that have happened to your family, or that before you were born, or that you were born into circumstances that's socioeconomically disenfranchised, or from a power sense disenfranchised, or from an education sense disenfranchised, I do believe you have a choice at that point. And I love the fact that people of faith go, our choice at this point is to go, God's bigger than all of this. I will not be held back by anyone's statement or words over me. I can overcome in the name of Christ. I do love that. And I think that's a faith thing. I don't think that's a race thing. I think that's a faith thing across the board.
Yes. And I think that's the answer.
I know. Okay, we fixed something. All right, guys, we got to wrap it up for today. That's it. That's all we can get done. But we love you. Thanks for joining us on Pewology. And thank you to Corey and Tabitha for joining us and sharing a little bit about their life. Love you. Mean it. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.